About halfway through the season, and today I want to go team by team and just kind of talk about their season thus far. Some good, some bad, some meh, and yeah, let's go ahead and get into it.
Lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the video, and we are finally back on the channel with an actual video that's not just an update video. I lost 3 subscribers for that, so I apologize, but we are finally back, and today we are going to be recapping the 2020 season to this point. Basically, I'm just going to go team to team, talk about the season they've had to this point, and maybe just a little bit more, I don't know. So yeah, that's really all we want to do. If you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you guys are new. I swear I won't disappear this time. I already have a big project of Chinnery that we just have to finish up today or tomorrow, and well the script, and then I'll be working on it and hopefully have that out by next week. It just depends on how everything works out. And so yeah, be sure to subscribe. We got some great stuff coming here soon, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So we want to do a quick speed round here, and just kind of the teams that don't really deserve their own little section, and they just deserve their altogether just one section, the speed round. So here we go. I'm going to mention Rick Ware, Spire Motorsports, and Premium Motorsports. Okay, I mentioned them. Let's move on. Welcome back, Tommy Baldwin Racing. They came back, I think, at Darlington. Shout out to them for making their comeback. Daniel Suarez currently sits 31st in the points. It's sad, but not really surprising when you look at the team he has. Corey LaJoie looks like that Haas Alliance has not worked out for him. Looks just as slow as he looked last year, with the exception of that great race at Martinsville. Also, shout out to him and Denny Hamlin's beef. And finally, Ty Dillon has been slow in 27th place in points, despite RCR's low-key resurgence that we briefly touched on, or we will briefly touch on later on. But yeah, that's all. That's the speed round, and yeah, I don't think I offended anybody, but maybe Ty Dillon fans. I couldn't find any clips of Christopher Bell in the Cup Series because he hasn't really done anything in the Cup Series, so please disregard the Xfinity highlights. But starting with Levine Family Racing here, it's been a rough start to the season, which brought some early concerns for the team, but they have been on fire recently, scoring top 10s at Charlotte, Bristol, and Homestead, and even a top 5 at Pocono. Keep in mind, he was also in the top 5 at Indy late in that race until he finished in 12th place. So Christopher Bell has definitely improved his season so far. He's on a roll right now. It'd be interesting to see if he's able to keep this up. You know, maybe there's just some issues with getting the equipment going. Maybe there's some rookie mistakes there at the beginning of the season. Whatever it may be, they've seemed to have shaked it. Regardless, he currently sits 24th in points. And while it's not impossible, I would say his chances at the playoffs are pretty small. Front Row Motorsports is surprisingly has its own section. I would say at the beginning of the season I probably wouldn't have, but they have seen massive improvements in performance this season, and at first I'll admit I thought it was John Hunter Nemechek just being that good, but Michael McDowell has been just as good, if not better at times, and both sit 22nd and 23rd in the point standings, which is mind-blowing to me because they have been, you know, they've never been this good for as long as I can remember, which, I mean, they're not doing great, but, you know, for Front Row, a low-budget team, they're doing pretty good, I would say. Shout out to you guys out there. You've kind of gone from the back row to the middle row. Maybe one day we can see you in the front row. I gotta say I'm somewhat disappointed in Roush's performance this year. Ryan Newman's been pretty good, and we'll get to him in a second, but I want to start with Chris Buescher. If I'm being honest, I expected Buescher to exceed what Ricky Stenhouse did last year and look a lot like how Ryan Newman performed in Roush equipment last year. So if you guys don't remember, Newman was able to sneak his way into the playoffs with a pretty stacked, you know, cutoff line, with a pretty good cutoff line race, I guess I should say. And he was able to get in there and, you know, just around the 16 exit, but I expected that from Chris Buescher. And really the only difference I can tell between him and Ricky is that Ricky would occasionally get screen time for something stupid he did, and Chris Buescher just doesn't do stupid stuff. I will say Ricky probably had more top 10s, or just was in the mix more than Chris Buescher has been so far. You don't really hear much about him anymore, and I genuinely forget he's out there at times. He's not doing bad. He's doing decent in the equipment that he's in, but he's just not, doing any better. He's not exceeding the expectations for that 17 car. And seeing as Ryan Newman did that in the 6 last year, I'm disappointed not seeing the same from Chris Buescher in the 17, but there's still time left. And I would assume he's there in the 17 next year. I don't know why they would move on from him. He hasn't been bad enough to move on from him. But moving on to Ryan Newman, we all know the shocking start to the 2020 season he had. Despite that, he's come back looking like the Ryan Newman we've all come to expect over the last few years. I wouldn't say there's really been much, maybe a little bit less consistent, but not really much to really talk about there. But unfortunately, missing a couple races, I'd say his playoff hopes are kind of small, but anything's possible. So don't doubt Newman. JTG Daugherty has been a tale of two polar opposite seasons, starting with Ryan Preece, who is 30th in points in front of Daniel Suarez and behind that of Matt Kenseth, who didn't make the first 4 races. And it's been a pretty sad season for that 3017. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but Ryan Preece and that team better figure it out, because they might be on the chopping block here soon. It's not even really been, they haven't been terrible. They've had some fast cars, just can't seem to get their results, and hopefully they're able to do so. Huge shout out to Ricky Stenhouse this year, as we all knew coming into this season that this was probably his last chance in good equipment. He has risen to the challenge and done very well, just as good as Chris Buescher did a season prior, if not better at times. I know he has not been perfect. It hasn't been completely smooth sailing, but if you look at races like Charlotte, races like Talladega, where he got 2 top 5s there, he had great races, had great race cars, and was able to get the job done. That is something that I don't know if Ricky Stenhouse would have done back at Roush. He's had great cars over at Roush and never was able to get the results. There's 2 examples right there. Unfortunately, he had a great car at Bristol as well, running in the top 10 until he got caught up in a wreck. I think that would have been another top 5, top 10 day for Ricky. So if he's able to just string together more of those, I think he had a pretty decent race at Pocono. It seems like I could be mistaken. Sorry, I didn't see it, but I thought I saw him get a good finish. But shout out to Ricky, man. I've always known he's talented, and I'm sure I'd never said it, but in my opinion, he's always been talented. He just gets in the way of that talent. And if you look back at that time at Roush where he was, taken out of the ride for a little bit, came back even better. I think this is kind of similar to that situation. So shout out to Ricky Stenhouse. He had a great season to this point, and hopefully he's able to keep it up. And just a little icing on the cake. He's in front of his former team, Roush Fenway's 17 team. He is in front of them in points at the moment. So a little icing on the cake for Ricky right now. No, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the whole movement and stuff with Bubba Wallace. I strictly just want to talk about his season. But I applaud what he's doing. I think he's doing a very good job at, helping out the sport during these times, and shout out to him for that. But anyways, moving on, Bubba Wallace has been a surprise, I would say. I was surprised with Ricky Stenhouse, but I'm even more surprised with Bubba Wallace. I've always known, I've always thought he was decently talented, but I wasn't, sure. But this year has definitely been an improvement on his rookie and sophomore campaigns. If you look at his stats, he's way more consistent. He's consistently, chilling in the top 15. At Charlotte, he was in the top 10, maybe just outside the top 10, and then he had 2 issues. And both races, he was in that category. So that's even 2 more top 10s he could have gotten so far. But he has 3 top 10s, a career high to this point in the season, and I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. But the main thing I think is happening with Bubba Wallace, and the reason why he's currently sitting 19th in the point standings, is because he's just, like I said, he's been more consistent. Instead of, having, breakout, top 10s, he's getting more of those. He's also just in the top 20 more often. He's not, it's not hit or miss with him. He's consistently been in the top 20. And shout out to Bubba for doing that. And yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to say. He's having a great season. And while playoffs are kind of iffy, he's definitely in position. There's 10 races left, so if he just goes off, maybe. But playoffs are definitely in the realm of possibility for Bubba Wallace, and definitely be a Cinderella story, nevertheless. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but RCR is actually having a resurgence this year. After 2019 being one of the most forgettable seasons, at 2018 that as well, in the team's history, I had given up hope on Austin Dillon. But I must applaud his turnaround this season, and as of July 7th, 2020, he sits 16th in the points, passing Eric Jones last weekend at Indy. While I'm not sure he'll be able to keep in front of the JGR equipment behind him, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. And I'd also like to bring up this stat. If you take away Martinsville, where he was forced out of the car at lap 399 due to the fatigue, I think there was like an issue in his car, I forgot, but he had fatigue and was forced out of the car. And Talladega, where he was caught up in a typical Talladega race, Dillon has not finished outside of the top 20 since returning to Darlington. And if you compare that to last year, that's legitimate success for him. And to this point, he has a top 5 at Vegas and 4 top 10s on the season, which is not flashy. Don't get me wrong, it's not flashy, but for Austin Dillon, it's pretty good. And there's still a lot of the season left, so we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Now, Tyler Reddick has gotten a lot of the credit. Make sure you still give some to Austin Dillon, as he's been pretty good, but Tyler Reddick has gotten most of the credit for RCR's so-called comeback, and Reddick has been very impressive in the 8 car this far. Like his teammate, Reddick has 1 top 5 and 4 top 10s, but he should have at least 1 more top 5 at Phoenix, where Reddick had a race-winning car, but cut a tire, which ended his promising day short. He's made some rookie mistakes like Pocono, where him and Eric Jones, where he basically just wrecked Eric Jones, but he's a rookie. That's literally what they do. Regardless, he's the front runner in a Rookie of the Year race that looks, after Indy, it looks like it might be heating up with Christopher Bell hitting his stride as of recent, and Cole Custer, we'll talk about it later, but he finally showed up to a race. I didn't realize he was in the sport. I thought he just finally just showed up, so it could be getting interesting here. Are you ever just watching a race and look at the top 10, see Matty D's in the top 10, and just smile? Because every time I see him in the top 10, I just smile. I don't think I've ever been as satisfied to see someone succeed at anything as much as I am right now, seeing Matty D 12th place in the playoff standings and fairly safely in. It just brings joy to my heart, and we have yet to see him have race-winning speed, although he did wreck early at Bristol. He's been head and shoulders above the mediocrity of his predecessor, Paul Menard, the king of mediocrity, and still waiting on him to smile. Only 4 top 10s on the season with 1 top 5 in the clip you're watching right now at Las Vegas. But his current 12th position suggests he earns a lot of stage points and finishes just outside the top 10 in 11th, 12th, or 13th on a regular basis. He's just very consistent. He's had some races where he didn't finish, but other than that, he's just typically in the top 15. And you know what? I'm just happy to see him win. And now all we need him to do is win at Bristol, and then his redemption arc is finally complete, and we can all be happy in Matty Benedetto land. I want to take this to briefly give an update on Kyle Larson. He's currently the Richard Petty of dirt racing at the moment, just dominating down there. It was actually one of my local tracks recently. If I would have known, I would have been there, but he doesn't have social media or anything. I think he's handling this the right way, and should be back in the Cup Series in the next year or two. I know a lot of people don't see that happening, but I do. If you guys want to see a video explaining it, I'll put a card up there in the top right. But yeah, just check that video out and you'll see why. And yeah, shout out to Larson. Whether you like him or not, he is dominating the Dirt Series racing, and you can't really do anything about it. Now on to Matt Kenseth, who is Kyle Larson's replacement. Matt Kenseth has had a rough season. He had a great start at Darlington, where he finished in 10th, but hasn't really shown much sense. He just had some mistakes, had some issues, and hasn't really been as good until his 2nd place finish at Indy last weekend, which is hopefully a sign that the rust is starting to come off and we can see him start finishing better, maybe get a win, who knows. I'm not going to go too insane, but who knows. But hopefully he's able to finish the season strong. And while I hate the when you're in system, I genuinely will not complain in the slightest if Kenseth gets a BS win to make the playoffs. And honestly, why don't you just rig it for him? Come on, please, please. I'm literally begging you to rig the race for Matt Kenseth. Do it. I won't complain. I don't think many people will complain if the race is rigged. Give one of your phantom cautions for him. I don't know. I don't care. Just somehow, maybe you should have failed Kevin Harvick post-race inspection. I don't know how you're going to do it. Get Matt Kenseth in the playoffs, please. Please, just for me. It would just make me happy, and I think it would make a lot of people happy. So, just saying. So, one instance, I'm going to allow you to be shady, NASCAR. So, take it as you will. Yes, I'm using a clip from last year, but this finish is awesome, so you get to watch it again. Anyways, much like last year, Kurt Busch has been a model of consistency for the team, sitting 11th in the point standings with 3 top 5s and 9 top 10s. Basically the season we have come to expect from Kurt Busch at this point. I'd love to see him get a win at some point. Kentucky's coming up, so who knows. But I also don't see any reason why he shouldn't have the one for as long as he wants it, with his sponsorship combined with the results he's been getting. Shout out to Kurt Busch, man. I mean, I just wanted to point out he definitely has turned around his career from where it was at the beginning of the decade, or this is the beginning of the decade, but you get my point. Shout out to Kurt Busch. I'm going to start with Eric Jones and keep it brief because I think I want to make a video on him soon. But let's just say, as he stands right now, his chances of losing the 20 is starting to become very, very high. And he has to turn it around. He has time to turn it around, but he just better start turning it around right now. Yes, I know this was recorded by somebody. I didn't notice it when I first watched the video. I'm sorry. It's not too bad. Whoever, if you're watching this and you were the one that recorded this, you did a pretty good camera job, so shout out to you. Anyways, I think I said this before in a video, but I'll say it again. Throughout my lifetime, there are people that no matter what adversity they face, no matter what's going on, no matter how old, young, whatever, there are people that I will never doubt in sports. This list includes Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Kyle Busch. But I will admit, he's been very quiet without a win so far to this point. 16 races into the season, still no win from Kyle Busch. And it's just not the Kyle Busch we're used to seeing. And I'm not going to complain. It's been pretty nice, if I'm being honest, not seeing Kyle Busch win. I hate to be like that, but I mean, we all know at some point he's just going to dominate and probably win like 7 races in a row now to catch up since he's been slow so far. But it's only a matter of time before that happens. But I will say it's been kind of nice. This clip I'm showing you right now is probably the highlight of his season to this point, and it's not a very positive one. So yeah, that's all I got for Kyle Busch, and I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time. He'll probably just win. Honestly, let's say right now, Kyle Busch is going to win the championship. Let's be honest here. MTJ has kind of had a weird season, and it's kind of hard to read what's going on over there. He hasn't been bad, but when you look at the success he and Cole Pearn had the season prior, you got to be somewhat disappointed in his performance so far. Combine that with the Denny Hamlin season he is having right now, which we'll talk about in a second. But nevertheless, he's safely in the playoffs, and I don't expect that to change. Well, he's got to win, so it obviously won't change. But it's his only win is at Martinsville right now, which is only race he really had race-winning speed to this point. I'd like to think he will get more wins this year, but I truly don't know with Martin Truex Jr. This does bring up the conversation. Was a lot of his success due to Cole Pearn, who is a great crew chief, or is it just, a struggle? Obviously, Kyle Busch is struggling, and he has the same crew chief as last year, so maybe it's something to do with the Joe Gibbs equipment. Is there something different there? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm not, a mathematician, but something's up. He's not looking the same as last year. Same with Kyle Busch, so I don't know. Now, Denny Hamlin, on the other hand, as I briefly mentioned, has had a great year at this point, and I would say he's been the best driver at JGR so far. I would have called you crazy if you told me that at the beginning of the season, but he started off the season with a win at the Daytona 500, had a little up and down until Homestead, which would start a streak of 4 top 5s in a row, which would be 5 right now if not for a blown tire at Indy. And if not for that tire, he would be sitting with 5 wins right now, but I have a feeling he will reach that mark in the near future, as he sits with 4 at the moment. Now, I hate to rain on his parade like it does at every single NASCAR race, but he has a reputation of having great seasons, but not being able to finish the job at Homestead, or pardon me, ISM this year. So, excuse me if I'm a little bit skeptical of his championship run at the moment, but I won't be surprised if he finally gets the job done. Now on to Penske Racing, starting with Joey Logano, who had the best start to the season with 2 BS wins, but wins nevertheless. He looked like the championship favorite at the beginning of the season. Since the break, though, it's been a rocky path for the team. He's had races where he's had race-winning speeds, but whether it be Chase losing talent at Bristol or other issues, he hasn't been able to get the job done. It's been a rough stretch for the team, but I'm sure at some point we'll see this 22 Ford back in contention, but I won't complain if we don't, let's be honest here. Next up is Ryan Blaney, who all of his top 10s this season have been top 5s. Like, all of his top 10s on his stats are all also top 5. So that's a very interesting stat. It's pretty cool. I've never seen that before, but maybe that's weird to you guys, but I've never really seen that happen. But he started the season hot, and if you look at his results, it doesn't look that way. But if he doesn't have issues at Auto Club, where he would have finished 2nd instead of 19th, and if not for a caution, we would have seen a very interesting battle for the win at Las Vegas, which rendered him, I believe, still in the back of the field. I can go on and on with the what-ifs, but Blaney has been impressive, and if he could just finish a damn race, maybe he can be a championship contender. I mean, he could legitimately have 3 to 4 wins at this point if he can just finish a damn race. I mean, obviously he finished Talladega, but he also kind of wrecked Eric Jones, as you just saw. So, I don't know. It's just kind of like, can you just finish a race, please? I've said it like 5 times, but as a somewhat Blaney fan, I kind of would like to see him win at somewhere other than Talladega or Roval, or has he won anywhere else? Oh, Pocono. I'm sorry. That was very disrespectful. Pocono as well.
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. This is a joke. This is a JOKE joke.
Anyways, I have this theory that two of Brad Keselowski's wins, both of his wins, I guess I should say, were given to him by Chase Elliott. My theory is that Rick Hendrick radioed Chase Elliott saying that he needs you to give away the win. He needs to get Chase to give away the win to Brad Keselowski, so that Brad Keselowski will eventually return the favor and come to the 48. Purely, speculation, but I don't see many flaws in that. And as you can see, he decided to pit when Brad Keselowski stayed out and won at Charlotte, and then he decided to go ahead and kill Joey Logano so he could win at Bristol. But besides that, conspiracy theory, Brad has been insanely consistent this year. His early wreck at the Daytona 500 is the only finish outside of the top 20 this year, and if you take away a 19th place finish, that is his only non-top 15 finish all year long. He's been very consistent, and that is why he currently sits 3rd in the point standings. He also gets a lot of stage points with his usual Brad Keselowski strategies that we are just used to seeing, and don't be surprised if Brad Keselowski finds him in the Final Four, just purely on strategy. I mean, this guy is a strategy wizard. On to Hendrick, starting with Jimmy Johnson, who has had his best season since 2017 to this point, but has come to a screeching halt after testing positive for COVID-19, and I'm hoping nothing but the best for Jimmy and his family, but unless he's able to come back soon, it'll be a major setback in his playoff hopes in his final season. I gotta say, I've been fairly disappointed in William Byron's season so far. Last year was a brilliant surprise to see him performed so much better than he did in his rookie season, but this year hasn't really improved much. He has 5 top 10s at this point, and his best finish is 7th place at Pocono recently. I'd like to say he's had races where he's looked fast, but let's be honest, he hasn't. He's been fairly mediocre to this point. And it's safe to say I can't be the only one that was expecting better than he's done so far. But I am definitely the only person that's pointing out that he has been the weak link at HMS so far. Before the season, a lot of people, including myself, thought he was going to win a race or two. But if he can't even get a top 5, how are we going to expect him to win a race? I'm just saying. He's obviously talented, and I'm not saying he's kicked out of the ride just yet. But if if he's really plateaued, moving on might not sound so crazy because, like I said, he's just been mediocre. So hopefully he's able to turn it around and prove me wrong. But I don't know. It's just been a slow start to the season, and Chase Elliott has it, so maybe he's going to pull a Chase Elliott, and then in the second half of the season start going crazy. But it's just been underwhelming. Chase Elliott has done exactly what I asked from him during the offseason. He may be a step behind from Hamlin and Harvick, but he has been consistent. Recently, he's been kind of quiet, but he had a month stretch where he was involved in the win in just about every single race. And off the top of my head, I can count 6 races where he had the dominant car, but whatever it be, his loss of talent at Bristol or his out-of-control situations at Vegas, amongst others. He's had a lot go wrong, but this is the first time in his career he's looked like a championship contender this early in the season. And like I just stated, he could have 3 to 5 wins right now and be right up there with Harvick and Hamlin, not Hamlin. I must say I'm also very impressed with his current spot of 2nd place in the point standings, reinforcing his consistency so far. He seems to be very well at the mile and a half so far, as he's competed in just about every mile and a half. So we got one coming up at Kentucky. We'll see how he does. But as a Chase Elliott fan, I'm very happy with his performance so far this season. So Chinry was supposed to do the Alex Bowman recap, but he said that recaps aren't his thing, and he will not be recapping the season. So I'm going off script because I had planned on him doing this part, but he decided that recaps weren't his thing. So now I'm going off script, so I'm sorry if I kind of rant or ramble or anything like that. So anyways, Alex Bowman had a great start to the season. He looked like a legitimate championship contender. He was competing for wins in every single race. But then he kind of cooled off, I believe, after Charlotte. But he didn't cool off. He actually had great cars. He was running in the top 10 for most of the race in these races. One I can think of is Homestead. He was in 6th. But Greg Ives decided to start doing drugs. I'm not kidding. If he came out and he was on drugs, I wouldn't be surprised. Because I don't know what's going on over there, but Homestead, he decides to short pit like 5 to 6 laps early, and obviously that strategy blows because nobody else did it. And so that he ended up in like 18th. You can also point to Indy, where he took left sides for no reason. We're not at a road course, so it didn't make any sense at all. But Greg Ives has been on something different, and I just want to know what he's on because I could use some of that as well. I'm not calling for him to be fired, but I genuinely will not complain if Greg Ives is fired or brought down to a car chief because he knows how to build cars, but he does not know how to crew chief a team, and I genuinely will not complain if he is fired. So anyways, that's all I got. Alex Bowman is a talented driver. He should have more wins than he has right now, and should be competing better than he is right now. So hopefully Greg Ives can smarten up, and we'll see Alex Bowman win a couple more races this season. So first for SHR, we got the rookie Cole Custer, who has not shown up to a race all season until Indy, where he got a 5th place finish in his first career start of the season. Wait, he's been here this entire time? Now, Clint Boyer has had some good races so far this season, the only problem being he hadn't had good results to go with them. Darlington is a race where he had the dominant car but ended up 22nd due to an issue. Besides Bristol though, I can't really point out a race where he got the finish he deserved, and he hasn't been terrible, but when you look at his teammates Eric Almirola and Kevin Harvick, Clint has been somewhat underwhelming. But I've also never wanted somebody to retire more than him because we need Clint to join the Fox guys in the booth. Like, it's a must. I need it. Like, please, let this happen. I'm going to be honest. I was against Eric Almirola at the beginning of the season. I was giving him some hate, but I think he heard me because he has gone on a tear recently with 5 top 5s in a row. And call me crazy, but I have a feeling a win might be on the horizon. Probably just me though. I will point out he did have a beginning of the season that was kind of he was kind of meh, but so were his teammates. He wasn't much worse than his teammates, but he had a slow start to the season, but he's turned it around and has taken place as SHR's clear second best behind Kevin Harvick, of course. And I started feeling negative about him staying the ride, but I'd say he's got it for at least another year or so with the stretch he's been on, and hopefully he's able to get a win because, you know, he doesn't get a lot of. He's only got 2 wins so far, so hopefully, or not this season, but in his career. Hopefully he's able to get number 3, 4, 5, who knows. But he's had fast cars. Pocono was a race where he could have won, but wasn't able to get it done. And hopefully he's able to have more opportunities. And to close out the episode or video, we are going to talk about the closer. See what I did there? Kevin Harvick, who sits atop the point standings, has 4 wins under his belt, and he is hands down the best driver in the sport this year with 13 top 10s and 9 top 5s, mind you, in 16 races so far this season. A 26th at Homestead is the only time all season that he hasn't finished in the top 15, and there's only been 2 times this season, 3 times if you count the Homestead one, where he hasn't finished in the top 10. There isn't much else to talk about right now. I mean, he's clearly been the best with Denny Hamlin as his only competitor, and it's been a blast watching him and Hamlin trade blows over the last 3 races. And I will be surprised if we don't see Harvick in the final 4. And I remember hearing him saying that you can probably race till you're 40 or 50s, and I'm very scared that, you know, you might end up with 7 championships at this point. Who knows? I mean, he's been a dominant driver this year, easily the best. And, you know, I never liked Harvick, but I don't know, I guess it's kind of nice seeing him winning. I don't know. I just really like his Busch scheme, so that's really all I got to say. That was a very long video. I just spent the last 3 hours making this video, so you guys better smash that like button, please. I beg of you, and hit the subscribe button if you guys are new. How to get through to a lot of people. I feel like I just briefly, I didn't like go into detail. I didn't really like go on long rants except for maybe the Alex Bowman one, so it's not like you're just watching me talk about the same guy the entire time. We go across a lot of teams in this video, so but now I'm starting to rant again, so I'm just going to go ahead and end it off here so you guys can go about your day. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.